Hey, beautiful Pisces souls. I just finished this incredible reading for you, and I have to share what the cards revealed because the energy around someone in your orbit right now is absolutely fascinating and honestly a bit intense. So I pulled cards asking about this person who has been on your mind lately, and wow, the universe really wanted to tell this story. I'm getting this whole narrative about someone who is dealing with some serious internal struggles around you. And it's creating this really complex dynamic that I think you need to understand. Let me walk you through what came up because this reading honestly gave me chills in the best way possible. The first card that practically jumped out of the deck was the Nine of Pentacles. And immediately I was like, okay, this is interesting because this card is all about independence and self-sufficiency, but the energy I'm feeling around it is completely different than usual. Usually when I see this card, it's about someone being comfortable in their own success and enjoying the fruits of their labor. But here, it's coming through with this undertone of someone who appears to have it all together, but internally they're feeling displaced and honestly kind of lost. This person in your energy right now, they've worked really hard to build up this image of themselves as someone who has their life figured out. They want everyone to see them as successful, independent, maybe even a little untouchable. But here's what the Nine of Pentacles is showing me about their real internal state right now. They're looking at what they've built, and instead of feeling proud and satisfied, they're feeling empty and questioning everything. And you know what's really getting to me about this energy? This person is realizing that all the external success in the world can't fill the void that losing you or not having you in their life the way they want has created. They're standing in their beautiful garden, metaphorically speaking, surrounded by everything they thought they wanted, and all they can think about is how none of it matters without you there to share it with them. The displacement energy around this card is so strong, Pisces. This person feels like a stranger in their own life right now. Everything feels wrong and out of place because the most important piece, which is their connection with you, is missing or damaged or not what they hoped it would be. They're successful on paper, but failing in their heart, and that's eating away at them in ways they never expected. What's really fascinating is that this Nine of Pentacles energy is showing me someone who is usually very contained and controlled. But right now they're struggling to maintain that facade because the hurt is so deep. They keep trying to focus on their achievements and their independence. But every time they do, their mind drifts back to you and what could have been or what they wish was different between you two. Moving deeper into this person's psyche, I pulled the Knight of Pentacles. And this is where things get really interesting because this card is usually about steady progress and reliable energy. But in this context, it's showing me someone who is stuck in this repetitive cycle of trying to prove their worth to you or to themselves through actions, but never feeling like it's enough. This Knight of Pentacles energy is showing me someone who has been working overtime to demonstrate their value. Maybe not directly to you, but in ways they hope you'll notice. They might be throwing themselves into work projects or taking on more responsibilities, or trying to show everyone around them how capable and reliable they are, but deep down they're doing all of this because they feel like they failed with you somehow. The hurt this person is carrying is manifesting as this desperate need to prove they're worthy of love and attention and respect. They're moving through their daily routines, but everything feels mechanical and joyless because they're operating from this place of trying to compensate for what they perceive as their inadequacies in your connection. What's really getting to me about this Knight of Pentacles energy is how methodical this person is being about trying to heal their ego. They're not the type to have dramatic emotional outbursts or make grand gestures. Instead, they're quietly, steadily trying to rebuild their sense of self-worth through practical achievements and reliable behavior. But it's not working because the wound you represent isn't something that can be fixed through external accomplishments. This person is showing up for everyone else in their life right now with this steady, dependable energy, but inside they're crumbling because they can't show up for you in the way they want to, or they can't get the response from you that they're craving. The Knight of Pentacles is usually about patience and persistence, but here it's showing someone whose patience is being tested to the breaking point and whose persistence is starting to feel more like punishment than progress. Now here's where the reading took a turn that honestly made my heart hurt a little bit because I pulled the Lovers, and usually this card fills me with joy and hope, but the energy around it in this reading is so heavy and complicated. The Lovers in this position is showing me that this person's hurt is directly connected to their deep feelings for you. This isn't just someone who's nursing a bruised ego or dealing with general rejection. This is someone who genuinely saw a future with you, who felt a soul-level connection, and who is now grappling with the reality that things didn't unfold the way their heart was hoping. What's breaking my heart about this Lover's energy is that it's showing me someone who is still very much in love with you, but feels completely powerless to do anything about it. They're not hurt because they lost something casual or surface level. They're hurt because they lost what felt like their person, their match, their other half, and now they don't know how to make sense of a world where that connection isn't flowing the way it should. The displacement feeling I mentioned earlier is really connected to this Lover's energy, because this person feels like they've been cast out of paradise, like they had a glimpse of what real love could feel like with you, and now they're wandering in the wilderness trying to figure out how to get back to that garden of connection. But here's what's really complex about this Lover's energy. This person is dealing with the reality that love alone isn't enough to bridge whatever gap exists between you two right now. They love you deeply, they feel that soul connection, but they're also recognizing that something fundamental needs to shift or heal or be addressed before that love can manifest in the way they're dreaming about. The hurt around this Lover's card is also showing me someone who is questioning their own judgment and their ability to read situations correctly. They felt so sure about the connection with you, so confident that what they were feeling was mutual and real and destined, and now they're wondering if they completely misread everything. That kind of self-doubt is devastating for someone who thought they had found their person. This Lover's energy is also revealing someone who is struggling with the concept of free will versus destiny when it comes to you. Part of them wants to fight for this connection and do everything in their power to make it work. But another part of them is wondering if they need to accept that maybe this isn't meant to be, at least not in the timing or way they originally envisioned. The next card that came through was the Eight of Cups. And honestly, Pisces, this is where I really started to understand the full depth of what this person is going through, because this card is all about walking away from situations that no longer serve you, but the energy around it here is so conflicted and painful. The Eight of Cups is showing me that this person has been seriously considering or maybe even actively trying to emotionally distance themselves from their feelings for you. Not because they don't care anymore, but because caring so much without being able to have the relationship they want with you is becoming too painful to sustain. This is someone who has reached that point where they're realizing they might need to leave behind their dreams and fantasies about what could be with you in order to preserve their own emotional well-being. But here's what's so heartbreaking about this Eight of Cups energy. They don't want to walk away. Every fiber of their being is screaming at them to stay and fight and keep trying, but their rational mind is telling them that continuing down this path is only going to lead to more hurt and disappointment. The displacement I keep feeling around this person is really highlighted in this Eight of Cups because they feel like they don't belong anywhere right now. They can't fully commit to moving on because their heart is still with you, but they also can't stay in this liminal space of hope and disappointment because it's destroying their peace of mind. What's really getting to me about this card is that it's showing someone who is trying to be mature and responsible about their feelings, but struggling with the grief of what feels like giving up on their greatest love story. They know that walking away might be the healthy choice, but it feels like betraying everything their heart believes to be true about your connection. This Eight of Cups energy is also revealing someone who is trying to convince themselves that they'll find something better or different if they just keep moving forward. But deep down, they don't believe that's possible because what they felt with you was so unique and irreplaceable. So they're going through the motions of emotional detachment while secretly hoping that somehow the universe will intervene and bring you two back together in a way that works. The emotional journey this person is on right now is so complex because the Eight of Cups usually represents spiritual growth and the wisdom that comes from knowing when to let go. But in this case, it's more about survival instinct kicking in. They're not walking away because they've learned some great lesson or achieved some higher understanding. They're walking away because staying is slowly killing them inside, and they don't know what else to do. Now we get to the World card, and this is where the reading took another unexpected turn, because this card should be about completion and fulfillment and achievement, but the energy I'm getting around it is almost bitter and definitely tinged with that jealousy you mentioned in your question. The World in this context is showing me that this person is looking at your life from the outside and seeing what appears to be your wholeness and completion and success. And it's triggering something really ugly in them that they probably hate about themselves. They see you living your life, maybe thriving, maybe moving forward in ways they wish they could, and instead of feeling happy for you, they're feeling left behind and inadequate. This is where that jealousy is really eating away at their ego, because the World represents everything this person wants to feel about their own life right now, but can't access because their emotional state is so tangled up in their feelings about you. They want to feel complete and fulfilled and accomplished, but every time they look at where you are in your journey, they feel like they're still stuck at the starting line. What's really painful about this World energy is that this person probably used to be genuinely supportive of your growth and success, but right now they're in such a dark place emotionally that your light almost feels like it's highlighting their darkness. They know this isn't fair to you and they probably hate feeling this way, but the jealousy is consuming them in moments when they're at their lowest. The World is also showing me someone who feels like everyone else, especially you, got the memo about how to live a fulfilling life while they're still trying to figure out the basics. They're watching you embody this sense of completion and wholeness, and they're wondering what's wrong with them that they can't access that same energy, especially when they feel like they've worked just as hard or wanted it just as much. This card is revealing someone who is struggling with the unfairness of life right now. They put their heart on the line with you. They open themselves up to love and vulnerability. And in their mind, the universe rewarded that courage by giving them heartbreak while you seem to be flourishing. Of course, that's probably not the complete picture, but that's how it looks from their perspective. And that perception is what's feeding the jealousy. The World energy around this person is also showing me someone who is trying to convince themselves that they don't need you to feel complete, but failing miserably at that self-deception. They want to reach that state of wholeness and fulfillment independently, but they keep bumping up against the reality that you were a huge part of their vision for what their complete life would look like. Diving deeper into this person's emotional landscape, I pulled the Four of Cups, and this card is really showing me the extent of their emotional withdrawal and how that's connected to the hurt they're carrying around you. The Four of Cups is revealing someone who has become so focused on what they don't have, specifically the relationship they want with you, that they're completely blind to other opportunities for love and connection and joy that are being offered to them. This person is sitting under their tree of disappointment, metaphorically speaking, staring at those 3 cups of past hurt and missed opportunities with you, and completely ignoring the 4th cup that the universe is trying to hand them. This is where the displacement energy is really showing up, because this person has displaced themselves from their own life. They're present in body, but absent in spirit, because their attention and energy is so consumed with processing their feelings about you that they're not actually participating in their current reality in any meaningful way. What's really sad about this Four of Cups energy is that this person is probably missing out on some genuinely good things right now. There might be other people trying to connect with them, opportunities for growth and adventure presenting themselves, moments of beauty and joy available to them. But they're so stuck in their emotional funk about you that they can't see any of it clearly. The hurt this person is carrying has created this defensive shell around their heart where they're not letting anything else in because they're afraid of being disappointed again. The Four of Cups is showing me someone who has decided, probably unconsciously, that it's safer to feel nothing than to risk feeling everything and getting hurt again the way you hurt them. This card is also revealing how this person's ego is protecting itself right now. Instead of dealing with the vulnerability of their feelings for you directly, They're choosing emotional numbness and withdrawal because that feels more manageable than facing the reality of how much power you have to affect their emotional state. The Four of Cups in this reading is showing me someone who is basically on emotional strike right now. They're refusing to engage fully with life because life didn't give them what they wanted most, which was you in the way they wanted you. It's like they're trying to punish the universe by withholding their participation, but really they're only punishing themselves. What's particularly heartbreaking about this Four of Cups energy is that it's showing someone who is so hurt and so scared of additional hurt that they've preemptively rejected anything that could potentially heal them or bring them joy. They'd rather stay safe in their familiar sadness than risk the vulnerability that comes with opening their heart again. The next card that came through was the Page of Swords, and this is where I started to see how this person's hurt is manifesting in terms of their mental state and the stories they're telling themselves about what happened between you two. The Page of Swords is showing me someone whose mind has become their own worst enemy right now. They're constantly analyzing and reanalyzing every interaction they had with you, looking for clues about where things went wrong or what they could have done differently. Their thoughts are like swords cutting them up from the inside because they can't stop dissecting the relationship and their role in its current state. This person's intellectual approach to processing their emotions is both helping and hurting them. On one hand, they're trying to learn and grow from this experience by really examining their patterns and behaviors, but on the other hand, they're getting stuck in mental loops that are keeping them trapped in the pain instead of helping them move through it. The Page of Swords energy is showing me someone who is probably journaling obsessively or talking to friends constantly about you and the situation, trying to gain clarity through external processing. They're seeking truth and understanding, but they're going about it in a way that's keeping them emotionally activated rather than bringing them peace. What's really interesting about this card in this position is that it's showing someone who is trying to use their intellect to solve what is fundamentally an emotional and spiritual problem. They think if they can just understand exactly what happened and why, they'll be able to fix it or move past it. But some things can't be understood through mental analysis alone. This Page of Swords energy is also revealing someone who might be gossiping or seeking information about you through mutual friends or social media because they're desperate for any insight into your internal world right now. They want to understand how you're processing this situation and whether you're hurting the way they are, but they're probably not brave enough to ask you directly. The mental energy around this person is so scattered right now because the Page of Swords is showing thoughts that jump from anger to sadness to hope to despair sometimes within the span of minutes. They can't find mental stability because their emotional foundation is so shaken by what happened with you. Coming into the later part of this reading, I pulled the Six of Cups, and this card immediately brought tears to my eyes because it's showing me just how deep this person's attachment to you really goes and why this hurt is so devastating for them. The Six of Cups is revealing that this person doesn't just miss you in a general sense. They miss specific memories and moments and feelings that you two shared together. This card is showing me someone who is constantly being triggered by reminders of your connection, whether it's a song that played when you were together or a place you visited or even just certain times of day when you used to communicate regularly. This is where I really started to understand why this person feels so displaced, because the Six of Cups is all about nostalgia and childhood innocence and the feeling of home, and you represented all of those things to them. Being with you felt like coming home to themselves, like returning to some pure and innocent version of love they thought they'd lost forever. The hurt this person is experiencing isn't just about losing a romantic partner, it's about losing what felt like their safe harbor, their sense of belonging, their belief in pure and simple love. You weren't just someone they were dating or interested in. You were their refuge from a world that often feels harsh and complicated and disappointing. What's so beautiful and tragic about this Six of Cups energy is that it's showing me someone who saw in you a reflection of their own capacity for joy and wonder and open-hearted love. When they were with you, they felt like the best version of themselves, like they could access parts of their personality that had been buried under years of adult cynicism and protection mechanisms. The nostalgia this person is drowning in right now is almost unbearable because every happy memory with you is now tinged with the sadness of knowing it's over or might never be recaptured. They keep returning to those moments of pure connection and joy you shared, trying to understand how something so beautiful could have become so painful. This Six of Cups is also showing me someone who might be idealizing your relationship or their feelings for you because the pain of the current reality is so intense that the past looks even more golden and perfect in comparison. They're probably remembering only the best moments and forgetting the challenges or red flags that were there all along. The grief this person is processing around this Six of Cups isn't just about you as an individual. It's about the loss of innocence and hope and trust in love itself that your connection represented for them. They opened their hearts so completely because being with you felt so safe and natural, and now that safety is gone and they don't know if they'll ever feel that way again with anyone. Now I'm getting to what might be the most intense card in this entire reading, and that's the Knight of Swords. And honestly, Pisces, when I pulled this card, the energy was so aggressive and chaotic that I had to take a moment to ground myself before interpreting it. The Knight of Swords is showing me that this person's hurt has transformed into something much more volatile and potentially destructive. All that pain and displacement and jealousy we've been talking about has reached a tipping point where it's no longer just internal suffering. It's becoming external action and reaction that could be really problematic for everyone involved. This person's ego is so wounded right now that the Knight of Swords energy is manifesting as this desperate need to be right about their version of events, to prove their worth by diminishing others, or to strike back at what they perceive as the unfairness of the situation. They're not thinking clearly anymore. They're just reacting from a place of deep hurt and wounded pride. What's really concerning about this Knight of Swords energy is that it's showing someone who might be on the verge of doing or saying something they'll regret later because they're so consumed with the need to make someone else, probably you, feel the pain they're experiencing. The rational, steady person they usually are has been overtaken by this wounded, reactive version of themselves. This card is revealing someone who is probably having really intense mood swings right now, where they go from deep sadness to explosive anger sometimes within hours. The Knight of Swords doesn't do anything halfway, so when this person is angry, they're furious, and when they're sad, they're devastated, and when they're hopeful, they're manic about it. The displaced energy we've been tracking throughout this reading has reached a crisis point with this Knight of Swords because this person no longer recognizes themselves or their behavior patterns. They're acting in ways that go against their core values and personality because the pain has hijacked their usual decision-making processes. What's particularly dangerous about this Knight of Swords energy is that it's showing someone who might be tempted to force conversations or confrontations that aren't welcome or appropriate. They're so desperate for resolution or understanding or closure that they might cross boundaries or make impulsive choices that push people even further away from them. This person's relationship with truth has also become really distorted because the Knight of Swords can represent someone who becomes convinced their perspective is the only valid one. They might be telling themselves stories about your motivations or behavior that aren't based in reality but serve to justify their own reactive responses. For the final card in this reading, I pulled the Six of Pentacles, and I have to say, this card brought both hope and continued concern because it's showing me where this person's energy is trying to go versus where it actually is right now. The Six of Pentacles ideally represents balance in giving and receiving, generosity, and fair exchange, but in this context, it's showing me someone who is desperately trying to find some way to rebalance the scales of what they perceive as an unfair situation. This person feels like they gave so much of themselves to you and received so little in return that they're now obsessed with evening the score somehow. This isn't necessarily about material things, though it could be. It's more about emotional energy and investment and vulnerability. This person feels like they showed up authentically and openly for you, and that generosity of spirit wasn't matched or appreciated, and now they're struggling with resentment about that imbalance. The hurt this person is carrying has twisted their natural desire to give and share into something more calculating and conditional. The Six of Pentacles is showing me someone who is now questioning every act of kindness or generosity they've ever offered because they're wondering if people, especially you, have been taking advantage of their giving nature. What's sad about this Six of Pentacles energy is that this person used to find joy and purpose in being generous with their love and attention and resources, but now they're second-guessing everything because they feel like their generosity was what made them vulnerable to being hurt by you. They're trying to protect themselves by becoming more transactional in their relationships, but that approach goes against their core nature. This card is also revealing someone who might be keeping score in ways that are unhealthy for them and their future relationships. They're tracking who owes what to whom emotionally, and that kind of bookkeeping is exhausting and ultimately self-destructive because love and connection can't be quantified that way. The Six of Pentacles in this final position is showing me someone who is trying to convince themselves they can find peace through fair exchange and balanced relationships. But the truth is, they don't want balanced anything with you. They want all-consuming, overwhelming, passionate love that doesn't worry about who's giving more or getting more, because the connection itself is the reward. But here's what gives me hope about this Six of Pentacles energy. It's also showing me someone who is starting to recognize that their current approach to processing their hurt isn't sustainable or healthy. They're beginning to understand that keeping score and demanding fairness from love is actually keeping them trapped in resentment rather than moving them toward healing. This person is slowly learning that the only way to rebalance their emotional scales isn't through getting something from you or anyone else, but through giving themselves the love and generosity they've been freely offering to others. The Six of Pentacles is ultimately about learning to be as kind to yourself as you are to the people you care about. So Pisces, after walking through all 10 of these cards, what's really coming through clearly is that this person in your energy is going through an incredibly intense period of emotional upheaval that's connected to their deep feelings for you and their perception that those feelings aren't being reciprocated in the way they hoped. The hurt they're experiencing isn't surface level or temporary. It's the kind of soul deep disappointment that comes from believing you found your person and then having that belief challenged or shattered. They felt so sure about your connection, and now they're questioning everything they thought they knew about love and relationships and their own judgment. The jealousy that's eating away at their ego isn't really about wanting what you have, as much as it's about wanting to feel worthy of having you in their life in the way they've been dreaming about. They see your light and your growth and your apparent contentment, and it highlights everything they feel they're lacking or everything they wish they could be for you. What's both beautiful and tragic about this person's energy right now is how much they genuinely love you. Every single card in this reading was colored by the depth of their feelings for you. They're not just dealing with rejection or disappointment, they're grieving what felt like a spiritual connection and trying to figure out how to exist in a world where that connection isn't flowing the way their heart believes it should. The displacement they're feeling is so profound because you weren't just someone they were interested in romantically. You were their sense of home, their safe harbor, their reflection of everything pure and hopeful about love. Losing that or not having it in the way they want feels like being cast out of paradise, and they don't know how to make peace with that reality. I want you to know, Pisces, that none of this means you owe this person anything or that you should feel responsible for their healing journey. Their hurt is real and deep and valid, but it's also theirs to process and work through. You can have compassion for what they're experiencing without taking on the burden of fixing it for them. What I will say is that if this is someone you care about and if there's any part of you that wants to offer some kind of clarity or closure, this might be a good time for a gentle, honest conversation about where you stand and what's realistic between you two moving forward. Not because you owe them that, but because the uncertainty seems to be adding to their suffering, and sometimes clear communication, even when it's difficult, can be kinder than leaving people to fill in the blanks with their own fears and insecurities. But ultimately, this person needs to do the work of rebuilding their sense of self-worth and emotional stability independently of you and your choices. They need to learn how to find their own sense of completion and home within themselves rather than looking for it in relationships with others. The journey they're on right now, as painful as it is, could actually be incredibly transformative if they choose to use this experience as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery, rather than staying stuck in resentment and victim narratives. Sometimes our greatest heartbreaks become our greatest teachers if we're brave enough to listen to what they're trying to tell us about ourselves and what we need to heal. I'm sending you so much love, Pisces, as you navigate whatever role you want to play in this person's healing journey. Trust your intuition about what feels right and healthy for you, and remember that the most loving thing you can do sometimes is to allow people to experience the consequences of their choices and learn the lessons they need to learn, even when watching them struggle breaks your heart a little bit.